Hello students, welcome you all to another interesting class of today. I am Barsha. As we have already known that this chapter is about Gaurav Jani's travel expedition, we are going to enjoy this chapter a lot. So let us see how did Gaurav Jani explore this expedition with his only companion, his bullet. Let us now find out what happened next. People living on top of the world. This interesting chapter is all about the people who live at so high altitude. You should know that it is very difficult to stay at such great heights. So let us see what happens and how do these people survive in these places. Now was the time to climb higher. Loner had a tough time zigzagging along narrow rocky mountain roads. At many places there were no roads at all. I was moving towards the rocky plains of Changthang. This place is at a height of almost 5,000 meters. It is so high that it is difficult to breathe normally. So now Gaurav was on his special expedition. He had to climb higher and higher, and they were facing a very tough time then. Why? Because the roads were not that smooth and fine to move on. The roads were zigzag in features, in structure, and they were very narrow. They were all throughout the Rocky Mountain roads, and at some places there were no roads at all. You could imagine how difficult it would have been for Gaurav to move all alone. Gaurav was moving towards the rocky plains of Changthang, which was at a height of almost 5,000 meters. Could you imagine what height it would have been? And it was so high that it was very difficult to breathe normally. Students, you should know, when the height increases, the altitude becomes higher and higher, we get a lack of oxygen. Oxygen supply, the air we breathe in, we breathe oxygen, isn't it? So the oxygen supply gets limited when we move to higher altitude. So the higher the altitude, less is the oxygen. That's why mountaineers and all, they carry oxygen cylinders with them while climbing up these mountains. And this was 5,000 meters high. Can you imagine the height of that place? And that's why maybe Gaurav faced some problems, because it is very difficult to breathe normally in that place. The people, those who stay there, they are acquainted with that climate, with the situations around it, so they could survive in that place, but everyone cannot do so. So it gets difficult for the people. So Gaurav also faced similar consequences. I had a headache and felt weak. Then I slowly got used to breathing in such air. So when immediately he got to the place, he could not resist and he got a headache, and he also felt very weak from within. But slowly and gradually he got acquainted with that place and he knew how to breathe in that air. For many days we kept wandering in this area with not a single human being in sight. No petrol pumps, no mechanics, only clear blue sky and many beautiful lakes around. So for many days Gaurav was just moving round and round. They were just wandering around because they could not find any person living out there. Nobody was visible, not a single human being was visible to him. And there were no petrol pumps, there were no mechanics out there. What was there was only the beautiful clear blue sky and many beautiful lakes all around. So that was the only thing for Gaurav to enjoy. Many days and nights passed. Loner and I kept moving ahead. Suddenly one morning I saw before me flat grassy land. Many sheep and goats were grazing here. Far in the distance, I saw some tents. I wondered who lived there and what they were doing in this far out place. So, just by moving round and round, by their wandering, so many days and night passed just like that. And Gaurav and his companion Loner, of course his bullet, were just moving around. And suddenly one morning he saw that he could see flat grassy land. So this was something different for him. He got to a new place maybe, and he could see some sheep and goats, not some, but there were many in number who were grazing there. Of course it was a grassy land, and that was a perfect place for the goats and sheep. And far from that place he could see some tents. So he was so relieved and relaxed when he saw those tents, but he could not believe who lived there at that place and what were they doing exactly in that place. So that needs to be explored by us, isn't it? Now before we proceed to the next session, which is very interesting, we have to answer these few questions which you have to find out yourselves. Now you have to find out that at what height is the place where you live. Can you find out? Yes, why not? You have to find out wherever you are living, whatever city you are in or wherever you are staying, at what height is the place where you live. Just as we found that the place Changthang was at 5,000 meters high above. So what height is the place where you live at? Next question for you to find out is, why did Gaurav Jani say this place is so high that it is difficult to breathe normally? You already know the answer. The air becomes very thin. The air becomes thinner when we go to high altitudes. So the level of oxygen in air becomes less. Hence, it becomes difficult for all of us to breathe. So one needs to apply a lot of effort to breathe in at high altitude. That's the reason why Gaurav Jani say that the place was so high and it was difficult to breathe normally. Now you have to answer it on your own, that have you ever been to a hilly place and where was it? Did you enjoy? Definitely you would have enjoyed a lot, isn't it? You also have to answer that at what height was it and did you have any difficulty in breathing there? If it would have been to a great height, then definitely there would have been some problems in breathing, isn't it? Which is the highest place you have been to? Many of you people are so fortunate to visit to new exciting places, isn't it? And if you are one of the fortunate ones, so you should share with us where have you been and which is the highest place which you have been to. Okay, so that is for you to find out, and please tell us when you share all these experiences with us. We will really feel great. Now let us find out what place was that, and the place was Changthang, and now we have to know about the people who were staying there. Now let us find out about the people. There I met Namgyal and came to know about the Changpa, a tribe living on the mountains. The Changpa tribe has only about 5,000 people. The Changpas are always on the move with their goats and sheep. It is from these that they get all that they need: milk, meat, skin for tents and wool for coats and sweaters. Their goats are their only treasure. If a family has more animals, it is considered more rich and important. So here, Gaurav got to meet another person, Namgyal. So he was blessed to be invited to the house of Tashi, and now he has got another friend who was Namgyal. So from Namgyal, he got to know that there was a tribe, Changpa, which lived on the mountains. The people, those who were living there, they belonged to a special tribe called Changpa. We know that we have so many different kinds of tribes of people, those who are staying in our country and all throughout the world. So some tribes are getting extinct, some tribes could not survive to the latest changes and they are quitting, they are losing their lives. But we should know about these tribes. So Changpa is a tribe which lives on the mountains, and the Changpa tribe has only about 5,000 people, not more. So these Changpas are always moving around with their goats and sheep, So that is the best part of them, and whatever requirements they have, whatever they need, it is all provided to them through these goat only. So whether it is milk, whether it is meat, whether it is skin for the tents or wool for coats and sweaters, everything is provided to them through these goats. So these goats are so precious and considered as treasure for them, isn't it? So it was also felt that if a family has more number of animals, that the family is very rich and very important. You could feel the importance of animals in that place, isn't it? So from these special goats they get wool for making the world famous Pashmina wool. The Changpa graze their goats at higher and colder places so that the goats have more and softer hair, which is the fur, of course. They stay high upon these mountains in very difficult conditions because that is where these goats can live. This is their life and their livelihood. Students, you would have heard about the famous Pashmina shawls, which is so popular and famous all around the world, isn't it? And you would be surprised to know that those shawls are made from the hair, the fur of these goats. These goats are a special breed of goats which stay high on these mountains only, and they stay in very difficult condition, because this is only the place where these goats can live, and this is their life and their livelihood. So the Changpa, they graze these goats at a higher and colder place so that the goats have more fine and softer hair. The Pashmina shawl is appreciated by the people all throughout the world because the quality is so fine and it keeps you so warm. Pashmina shawl may look very thin and soft, but it gives a lot of warmth to you. I was carrying very little of my belongings on my motorcycle, but the Changpas carry everything that they own on their horses and yaks. It takes them only 2.5 hours to pack everything and move ahead. Within no time, they put up their tents at the chosen place, the luggage is unpacked and their homes are ready. So, Gaurav wants to share this experience that he was carrying very little of his belongings on his motorcycle. But the Changpa tribe, whenever they had to move anywhere, they would carry all their essentials on their horses and yaks. So you know that yaks are the creatures, the animals which could survive on these hilly areas. So they had the access to horse and yaks. And it took only 2.5 hours. There were a lot of stuff, but so good and efficient in packing they were that they took only 2.5 hours to pack everything, and they started their journey. Within no time they put up their tents. They were so smart in putting up their tents at the place which they select to live, and immediately the luggage is unpacked and their homes are ready. So these people of Changpa tribe were no doubt very smart and sharp people. "You are most welcome into our home," said Namgyal as he led me to the big cone-shaped tent. They call their tent Ribo. Yak hair is woven to make strips which are stitched together. These are strong and warm and protect them from the icy strong winds. I saw that the strips were tightly tied with 9 sticks. The ground is dug about 2 feet deep. The tent is then put up around this on the higher part of the ground. Now, Namgyal invited Gaurav to move into his house, and Gaurav was so blessed to get into that special kind of house, which was a cone-shaped tent. It was a very big tent, and these kind of tents, the tents which is used by Changpa tribe, the Changpa people, they call their tents Ribo. Okay, and the tents are made with the help of yak hair. Isn't it so interesting that the hair of yak is used to weave and make strips which are all stitched together, and those strips are so strong and warm that they protect these people from icy strong winds, because we all know it's a very cold place. Now, before we move to the next part of our chapter, let us find out some interesting facts about the world famous Pashmina. You know, some of the special creations of India are appreciated all throughout the world. One of them is this Pashmina shawl. So let us find out why and how this Pashmina became world famous. It is believed that a Pashmina shawl is as warm as 6 sweaters. So if you wear 6 sweaters, whatever warmth will you get from those 6 sweaters, the same warmth you will get if you just use a Pashmina shawl. Isn't it so special? It is very thin yet very warm. The goats from which the soft Pashmina wool is collected are found on very high altitudes of 5,000 meters. We have already learned that this Pashmina is made from the fur of the goats which stay on the very high altitudes of Changtang. So, that fur of the goat is so soft and it keeps you so warm. In winter, the temperature here drops below 0 degrees centigrade. Sometimes it becomes even minus 40 degrees centigrade. A coat of warm hair grows on the goat's body which protects it from extreme cold. The goats shed some of their hair in summer. This hair is so fine that 6 of these would be as thick as one hair of yours. Now, these goats, they have a coat of warm hair which grows all around their body, and that protects it from the extreme cold weather of this place. And these goats, they shed some of their hair in summer, and you won't believe that the hair is so fine that 6 of those hair will be as thick as one hair of yours. Imagine the thinness of that hair. It is so smooth and fine, okay? Now, the fine hair cannot be woven on machines, and so weavers of Kashmir make these shawls by hand. It's such a tough and difficult job for the weavers of Kashmir, because machine could do anything, because there are some work which machines can't do. The machines aren't comparable with the human beings. So, there are some special kind of skills which the machines don't possess, but the human beings do. So, the weavers of Kashmir weave these shawls by their hand, and it is so time taking and painstaking for these weavers. This is such a long and difficult process. After almost 250 hours of weaving, one plain Pashmina shawl is made. You can imagine the time it takes and the efforts of the weavers, which is all used for making just one shawl. Imagine how long it would take to make a shawl with embroidery. Just a simple shawl, it takes so much of time. So if you have all the designs and embroidery, then it would take for them so many days to make this shawl. Ready all for you. So now whenever you buy a Pashmina shawl, salute the efforts of these weavers who work very hard to make us keep warm and look beautiful. Isn't it? So we should appreciate their efforts. Now let us see what more does Gaurav find out in the tent of Namgyal. As we stepped into the tent, I realized that I could stand up straight. It was not like my tent. I also saw that the rebo was as big as a room of my flat in Mumbai. It was held up by 2 wooden poles in the middle. There was an opening to let out the smoke from the chula. Namgyal told that the design of this tent is more than 1,000 years old. The tent protected the Changpas from extreme cold. Now when Gaurav went inside the tent, he was surprised to see the speciality of this tent. The tent was held up by 2 wooden poles in the middle, so it was very, very strong. And there was also an opening to let out the smoke from the chula. So when Namgyal's mother was cooking, he could see that like we have chimneys in our houses, so there was a small opening to let out the smoke from the chula. So Namgyal told that the design of the tent which they were living, that was more than 1,000 years old. It was so old, it was so ancient, and that particular kind of tent was helping these Changpas to protect from such extreme cold weather. So how special those tents were? These tents were Rebo, remember that. How cold it must be, can you imagine? Definitely. So how cold must it be? In winters the temperature drops many degrees below zero. So usually we know that there is ice when water freezes, so at the degree of 0 degree centigrade it becomes ice. Now something beyond that, can you imagine how it would be? The wind blows at 70 kilometers per hour, and imagine if you were on a bus which was going at this speed, how far from your house would you reach in 1 hour? It would be so quick. Near the Rebo, there was a place to keep sheep and goats. Changpas call this Lekha. So there was a special place which was meant for the animals. So Changpas would keep their animals, all these sheep and goats, which are an important source of livelihood for them. They would keep them in this place called Lekha. The walls of a Lekha are made with stones. Each family puts a special mark on their own animals. The women and young girls count and take the animals out of the Lekha. So basically all of the Changpas, all of them, they keep their animals together in this place called Lekha. And how would they know that the animal belongs to them? They would mark them with a special mark which would identify them as their animals. Okay? And the walls of this place, this Lekha, are made with stones, and the care for the animals would be taken by the young girls and the women. So the women and the young girls were responsible for counting and taking the animals out of the Lekha. Now as we have learned so many things about Changpas and their livelihood, so we would like to discuss some important questions here. The Changpas, we could know that animals are very important part of their life. So is any animal an important part of your life? It may be your pet, or it may be someone who helps you in some different kind of work. So you could share it, you could write it yourself. So you can also list 5 ways in which different animals are a part of your life. Students, there are so many animals, like this nature is so beautiful. So it's a mixture of all these beautiful elements around us. So you could find this different varieties of animals, various animals, they move around us. So how these animals are a part of your life, you could find out and write it. Let us move ahead and find out about the special journey of Gaurav. Now he moves towards Srinagar. I spent a few days with the Changpas, but sadly it was time to move on. My return journey would take me away from this special part of the world towards towns which looked like a totally different world. This time I took a different route from Leh. I was going towards Srinagar via Kargil. I saw many more amazing buildings and different houses. Now it was the time where Gaurav had to bid farewell to the place, to the Changpas, but he from the within was not happy to leave this place. He really enjoyed the experience staying with Changpas, and especially of the special part of the world which was completely different from the other parts of the world. Here he took a different route from Leh. He didn't return in the same route by which he came to Leh. He was going in a different route. It was towards Srinagar via Kargil. So he could see another city as well. And while traveling to Srinagar, he saw many more amazing buildings and different houses also. I stayed in Srinagar for a few days. I was amazed by the houses there. They took my heart away. Some houses are on the mountains while some are on water. I took many pictures of these. See my photo album. Now Gaurav didn't miss this opportunity also, so he stayed in Srinagar also for a few days, and he was also amazed by the houses here. Here also the houses were so beautiful, so special and amazing, it just stole his heart. He expresses this that they took his heart away, and the houses were so different. Some of the houses were found on the mountains and some are on water, and he has captured all those beautiful moments by his camera. With the help of his camera, he has captured all those special moments, and he has also shared his photo album with us, which will help us to get a glimpse of those special beautiful moments. Now let us explore the photo album of Gaurav. We can see in the first photograph there are a lot of houseboats. So this is a picture of houseboats. It is displaying all the houseboats, and you should know that's a special feature of Srinagar. So tourists who come to Srinagar love to stay in houseboats. Houseboats can be as long as 80 feet and around 8 to 9 feet wide, and all the necessities, all the requirements are provided to you in this houseboat. It is so interesting to live in this houseboat. So all of you should try once to visit this beautiful place, Srinagar. If you move towards the right side photograph, you can see there is another structure that is also kind of house, and it is known as a donga. So many families in Srinagar, they live in this house which is known as donga, and these are kind of boats which can be seen in Dal Lake and Jhelum river. From inside, the donga is just like a house with different rooms. So this is also another kind of house. Now let us come to the next photograph, which is about the beautiful carvings on wood. So Gaurav captured this photograph also, which could display us the beautiful architecture style of the people of Srinagar. So the carvings are made on wood, which can be seen on the ceilings of the houseboats and some big houses. So this design is specially called Khatamband. So this design is known as Khatamband, which has a pattern that looks like a jigsaw puzzle. You know a jigsaw puzzle, you would be so confused to get it solved. So the carvings are also just like a jigsaw puzzle. We could see another photograph about the villages of Kashmir. So in the villages of Kashmir, houses are made from stones cut and kept on top of the other and coated with mud. Wood is also used, and the houses have sloping roofs. So this is another feature of the houses which are made in Kashmir. The houses are not made from bricks and cements only, they are made from stones cut. The stones are cut and they are kept one on the top of the other, and they are all coated with mud. So this is a different kind of house, and wood is also used for building this house, and these houses have sloping roofs. Okay. So let us move to the next photograph. So the next photograph is a picture of a very ancient and old house which has a different and a special type of window which comes out of the wall. So this is called dab. This kind of window is called dab, and it has beautiful wood pattern. This is completely made up of wood, and it is wonderful to sit here and enjoy the view. You could enjoy the view outside by sitting at this place. The last photograph which Gaurav has shared with us is the old houses which are made up of stones, bricks and wood. The doors and windows have beautiful arches which are known as mehrab. So Gaurav has really helped us a lot to enrich ourselves about the different beautiful specialities of this beautiful city, Srinagar. Now let us see what more Gaurav wants to share with us. When I started my journey, I had not imagined that in one state I would see so many different kinds of houses and lifestyles. I had a wonderful experience of living on the mountains in Leh and another of living on water in Srinagar. I saw how both the houses in these areas were made to suit the climate. So when Gaurav started his journey, he had never even thought that he would see such a variety, such display of differences in only one particular state, and he was really fortunate to see all these in one state. So there were so many different kinds of houses, there were different kinds of people with different kinds of lifestyles, and he had such a rich, wonderful, amazing experience of living in the mountains in Leh and also living on water in Srinagar. So now it was the time for the return journey. Again it was time to move on. In Jammu I saw houses like I have been seeing in Mumbai. The same cement, brick, steel and glass. These houses are very strong, but they are not as special as the houses I was lucky to see in Leh and Srinagar. After a long journey, Loner and I were about to reach Mumbai. Now, Gaurav was returning, and while returning he went to Jammu, and in Jammu he could find the similar types of houses which he had been seeing in Mumbai. The houses made up of usual cement, brick, steel and glass. My heart felt heavy. That means Gaurav was very sad. He was missing the journey, he was missing the rich experience. I also felt that my motorcycle did not want to come back, even Loner. He felt Loner as a human being, and he felt that Loner didn't want to come back too. I was happy that I had learnt and experienced so many new things. I had also brought back some memories in my camera. And of course, this was not the end. Next time when Loner and I get bored of the city, we will again set out for a new journey. So Gaurav was sad, but at the same time he was happy that he was fortunate, he was blessed to get such a rich experience of so many different kind of new things, and he had also captured those special moments in his camera. So those memories will be staying with him forever and he would cherish them forever. Now we have to answer these important questions because we have already understood the chapter. Describe how these shelters suit the needs of the people who live there. You have got the right answers. So each type suits the needs of its occupants, and the houseboat and donga is a complete house on the boat. Every facility is available in the houseboat which gives comforts to its occupants. The houses made of stone and wood provide good insulation during cold weather. Tent house made by Changpas are good for the wandering lifestyle of the people. So every house has its own unique feature. Now another question for you is, how are these different from the house you live in? So you have to find out the difference of your house. Okay, you are absolutely correct. Our houses are made from bricks and cement and are ideal for moderate weather, but their houses are meant for special types of weather. Unlike the tent houses of Changpas, our houses are immovable. These are permanent and strong houses. So these are the differences between their houses and our houses. So I do believe that you all have acquired enough knowledge about the different types of shelter, because we live in a diverse country. It's such a rich, special country we have, and it has a diversity in everything, starting from lifestyle, food, even in the houses we live. So we have learnt a lot about the different types of shelters. So I do believe that you will even explore more and get to know more and more about our country, which is really very special and precious for all of us. Students, today we have completed the chapter A Shelter So High. I do believe that you have understood the chapter properly. So I do wish that it will help you a lot. So with this note, we end our class here. We will meet in another session of our class. Till then, keep smiling and keep exploring. Thank you.